The galaxy had changed. The once dominant Virex Empire, which had ruled with an iron fist, was now nothing more than a memory. Their cities lay in ruins, their fleets scattered and broken. The humans had come, and they had won, against impossible odds. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. From the crowded streets of New York to the quiet towns in the mountains, humans everywhere watched as history was made. Sarah Holt's name echoed through every corner of the planet, and with it, the understanding that humanity had become a force no one could ignore. But Sarah wasn't the only hero. The Forgotten, those 7 silent warriors who had avenged her, were now legends in their own right. They had struck at the heart of the Virex Empire, and they had succeeded where others would have failed. In the capital of Earth, General Marcus stood before a crowd. He had led them through the toughest battle humanity had ever fought. And now, standing at the helm of the new age, he was ready to speak the truth. "The war is over," he said, his voice strong. "But our work is just beginning. We have shown the galaxy what humanity can do when pushed to its limit. And now we will build something new, something stronger, together." The crowd erupted into applause. For the first time in a long while, there was hope. On Virex Prime, the last remnants of the Virex soldiers had surrendered. Their leaders, broken and defeated, stood in front of the Human Council. Threx, the former general of the Virex, was the last to speak. You humans," he began, his voice hoarse. "You should have been crushed. But instead, you took everything we had." He paused, eyes meeting the humans who had fought against him. "We thought we were superior, but we were wrong." Marcus stepped forward. It wasn't about superiority. It was about survival. And now, the galaxy will be different. In the ruins of the Virex capital, Falcon and Echo stood together, staring at the remains of what had once been a mighty empire. Their mission was over. The revenge they had sought for Sarah had been carried out, but something in them had changed. Echo broke the silence. "What now?" Falcon looked out at the horizon, where the first rays of a new day were breaking through the dark clouds that had hung over the planet for so long. "Now, we rebuild. The galaxy will remember what we did here, and we won't let it fall into darkness again." The survivors of the Virex, those who had surrendered, were given a choice. They could stay and help rebuild, or they could leave the galaxy. Some chose to stay. Some left. But the message had been sent. The Virex Empire was no more. The galaxy had been freed. Back on Earth, Sarah's parents were watching the news, their hearts heavy. They had lost their daughter, but the victory was hers as much as anyone's. "We won," Sarah's mother whispered, tears in her eyes. "But we lost her." Her father put a hand on her shoulder. "She didn't just fight for us. She fought for everyone." They both knew that the future was brighter because of her. As the galaxy began to heal, a new council was formed. Humans, once isolated and underestimated, were now taking their place among the stars as equals. The former enemies of the Virex came forward, offering alliances, trade, and peace. For the first time, the galaxy was united, not by force, but by respect. The name Sarah Holt was remembered, not just as a hero, but as a symbol of what humanity could accomplish when they fought for what was right. On the bridge of the human flagship, Falcon stood alongside Echo and the rest of the Forgotten. They had won, but their work was far from done. They had started something new. "Where do we go from here?" Echo asked, her voice calm but curious. Falcon turned to her, a determined look in his eyes. "We go forward. We show the galaxy who we are. And we never let the darkness return." The stars above Earth shone brightly that night. For the first time in a long while, peace seemed possible. Humanity had proven their strength, and in doing so, they had earned their place in the galaxy. As the sun rose over Virex Prime, a new day had begun. A new dawn. The silence from Earth had stretched for weeks. Across the galaxy, tension rose. There was no official communication from the humans. Their ships remained silent in the dark. Not a single fleet moved. Not a single word was heard from their governments. It was as if humanity had disappeared entirely. But in the darkness, something was brewing. The quiet was part of their plan. Earth. Hidden underground network. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in the hidden network of bunkers and underground cities, the highest-ranking generals and leaders of Earth's defense were preparing for something no one had ever expected. General Elias Monroe stood before a holographic map of the galaxy. His eyes were hard, focused. "This isn't just about revenge," he said to the gathered council. "This is about survival." He pointed to the map where thousands of silent ships had appeared in alien space. Not one human ship had made an attack. Not one human fleet had moved toward enemy lines. But that was about to change. "We will speak now," Monroe continued. "Not in fear, not in silence. It's time for them to hear our voice." The silent ships, a new message. Without warning, all across the galaxy, the human ships that had remained still for so long suddenly came to life. They began to move, not toward alien systems, but toward Earth. For the first time, alien sensors picked up a transmission from the human fleet. It wasn't a typical communication. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a greeting. It was a message. The signal was received by millions of eyes across the stars. Alien governments, military leaders, and civilians alike. And it was simple. "We are not asking for your peace. We are not begging for your forgiveness. We are here because you forgot who we are. But you will remember." The message didn't just play on screens. It reverberated in the minds of those who had once killed humans, those who thought they could erase humanity forever. For the first time, the alien fleets hesitated. Zarnak Empire. Panic in the capital. Zarnak's capital shook as the message reached their homeworld. High Commander Felix Claus trembled as the signal played in his war room. The words struck him like a hammer. "You will remember." He had once mocked the humans. He had called them weak and soft. But now, he could feel the weight of those words pressing on his chest. His people had feared the humans for centuries, but had never taken them seriously. They thought of humans as a species that lived in the shadows of the galaxy, weak, defenseless, always under the thumb of the other powerful empires. But now, it felt different. "They've changed," Felix muttered. "They are not the same." Filari Command. Growing fears. On the Filari homeworld, Prime Minister Nirakesh watched the same transmission. The room was filled with silence as the message ended. "Humans," she whispered, "they've awakened something." But what? Her advisors exchanged uneasy glances. One of them spoke. "Are they preparing for war, Prime Minister?" "No," she said slowly. "They aren't preparing for war. They're preparing to remind us why they should have never been underestimated." The Filari had underestimated humanity for too long. They thought humans were nothing more than survivors, barely holding on in the face of the other powerful species. But now, the Filari could feel the shift. Something had changed. They weren't just survivors anymore. The humans were ready to fight. The Council of the Dryan Alliance. Desperation. The Dryan High Council convened for an emergency session. Their leaders were frantic, shaking their heads as they listened to the human broadcast. "They've been silent for too long," said the lead ambassador. "And now they speak. What does this mean?" Another diplomat spoke with fear in his voice. "It means they are no longer afraid. It means they are coming back to claim their place in the galaxy." High Commander Roken of the Dryan military stood up, his voice dark and low. "If they are coming to claim their place, then they will take it by force. We must be ready." But a voice from the back spoke up, an old advisor. He was shaking, but his words were firm. "No one should underestimate humanity again. Once you push them too far, you will never know what they are capable of." Aboard a human stealth ship, heading toward Earth, Captain Mira Chen stood before her crew in the command center of their stealth ship. The transmission from Earth had ended, but the message still hung in the air. For the first time in months, She felt the weight of what they had started. She was no longer just a captain leading a small force. She was part of something much bigger, a movement, a fight for survival, and a reclaiming of Earth's place in the galaxy. The galaxy was no longer a place of peace. It was a battleground, filled with fear, whispers, and the name of one human, Sarah Holt. The Virex Empire had once stood tall, with pride in their strength, believing no one could challenge them. But now, even their greatest leaders feared the silent war creeping across their borders. General Threx stood at the front of the War Council. His face was weary, the weight of their decisions pressing on his shoulders. "We have been fighting for months," one warlord said, "but they still have the advantage. No matter how hard we try, they always seem to be one step ahead." "Because they are," Threx replied, voice low. "The humans, they are not fighting for a victory. They are fighting for something we cannot understand, and we are paying the price for it." He turned to the holographic map of the galaxy. The Virex systems were glowing red, hundreds of outposts destroyed. No signs of human ships or weapons, just vanished. Silent. "And now," Threx continued, "we are on the edge of losing everything." In deep space, the humans were preparing for their next strike. The Forgotten. 7 soldiers, all chosen for their skills. None of them knew each other's names. They were ghosts, shadows in the void. They carried only one mission: to avenge Sarah, and to make sure the galaxy understood that humans could not be broken. The commander of the Forgotten, a man known only as Falcon, stood in the bridge of the ship. His eyes were cold, but there was a fire within him. "We hit their capital," Falcon said, his voice calm but firm. "We don't just destroy ships. We send them a message they can never forget." One of the soldiers, a woman named Echo, spoke up. "But how will we get through their defenses?" Falcon smiled, but it wasn't a smile of joy. It was a smile of understanding. "We don't need to," he said. "They won't know we're coming until it's too late." On Virex Prime, the capital planet, the Virex leaders gathered in their most secure bunker. The situation was critical. "We have nothing left to lose," one high-ranking officer said. "The humans are closing in. We don't know how. They don't fight like us. We can't predict their next move." A cold, calculating voice broke through. "We don't need to predict. We need to stop them before they strike. Or else." The officer trailed off. The message was clear. The Virex knew that humanity was about to do something bold, something that would change the course of the war forever. Meanwhile, General Marcus watched from his command center, the weight of every choice resting on his shoulders. The Virex had underestimated humans for too long. They had killed Sarah thinking they could break humanity's spirit. But the truth was that they had only unleashed a force that could never be contained. "You know what we have to do," Marcus said, addressing his team. "This isn't about revenge anymore. This is about showing the galaxy that humanity cannot be silenced. Not by force, not by fear, not by any enemy." His eyes swept over the room. The Virex wanted a war. Let's give them one they will never forget. In the heart of Virex Prime, deep beneath the surface, the final preparations were being made. They had created a weapon unlike anything seen before. The Virex leaders had hoped this would be the key to ending the war. They had engineered it to be powerful enough to crush any rebellion, powerful enough to wipe humanity from the stars. But they hadn't counted on one thing. Humans didn't fight for power. They'd fought for each other. And when they fought with everything. As Falcon and his team neared the Virex capital, their mission was clear: strike hard, strike fast, and leave a message. The Virex would never forget the face of the woman they had killed. As they approached the capital, a low hum filled the ship. "We're in position," Falcon said. "All units, prepare for extraction. We do this fast." Back on Virex Prime, alarms began to blare. Ships of unknown origin were appearing out of nowhere. The Virex scrambled to respond, but it was too late. The Forgotten had arrived. General Threx watched as the sky above the capital turned dark. Thousands of ships filled the air, moving silently. "What is happening?" one officer asked, panic rising in his voice. Threx stared at the screen. "It's them," he whispered. "The humans." The Virex had no time to react. The first wave of human ships struck fast. No warning, no chance to defend. And with each attack, the message became clear. Sarah Holt's death had started something no one could stop. General Marcus stood in the war room of Fort Haven. The lights were dim. The air was heavy. His officers waited for orders, but none were needed now. Protocol H had been activated. Across the galaxy, every human base, ship, and outpost received the same command. Go dark. Prepare for silent war. There were no speeches, no public announcements, only action. In the deep void of space, a fleet of human ships shut off all outside signals. They vanished from scanners, like ghosts. Their names were wiped from the system, their ID tags deleted. These were Black Ops fleets, used only when humanity wanted to disappear and strike without warning. Meanwhile, the Virex Empire still celebrated. Their news broadcasts showed the burning battlefield. Videos of Sarah's body were played again and again. "Humans are broken," said one Virex anchor. "Their defeat is complete." But in the background, something strange began to happen. One by one, alien stations near human borders went silent. Trading posts vanished. Patrol ships stopped reporting. "Just a glitch," Virex leaders said. "Nothing to worry about." They were wrong. General Threx sat in his command chair, uneasy. His fleet had won, but he didn't feel victorious. That human, Sarah, something about her face haunted him. Her calm stare, her quiet strength, and that message. Protocol H is now active. We are coming. He had ordered his tech team to search human databases, but there was nothing. No records of Protocol H, no explanations. Just one note, buried deep in an old Earth archive. Protocol H is to be used only when a message must be sent to the galaxy. A message written in fire. Threx read the line again and again. Then his screen flashed red. A alert. Virex Outpost Gamma. Destroyed. No survivors. Unknown weapon used. Who did this? He demanded. His officer whispered. It had to be the humans. But the base was inside Virex space, far from any war zone. Threx clenched his jaw. Find out how they got there. But deep inside, he already knew. They were in. On a frozen moon, Virex soldiers stood guard outside a weapons lab. They laughed, played cards, smoked strange alien herbs. Then came the whisper, a sharp breath of wind, a shadow. One soldier turned around. Did you hear? That was the last thing he ever said. The forgotten had arrived. 7 human operatives. No names, no faces. Each moved like a ghost. Silent, perfect, deadly. They didn't shoot to kill. They struck to send a message. Each alien body was found with one word carved near it. Sarah. Back on Fort Haven, General Marcus stood before a map of the galaxy. Red dots showed Virex-controlled systems. One by one, the dots blinked out. Report, he asked. A young officer replied. 7 outposts destroyed. 0 human casualties. No survivors left behind. Marcus nodded. And the messages? Delivered, sir, just as ordered. Marcus looked at the stars. Good. Let them feel what fear truly is. In the Virex capital, panic began to rise. Their citizens no longer felt safe. Their leaders gave speeches, but no one believed them. And then came the broadcast. No sender, no signal origin, just a voice. A calm, female voice. Sarah's voice. Her final recording, sent by Earth. If you are hearing this, I am dead, but I died protecting those who couldn't fight. I was not a hero. I was a soldier, one of many. And if you think my death will break humanity, you don't know who we are." The voice faded. The screen went black. Then came the final message. "You lit the fire. Now watch it burn." In the deepest part of the Virex Empire, an alarm rang on a secret station. Their AI tried to track where the human ships were. It failed. The ships were already inside. They were already watching. And then they felt it. A wave of fear. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a missile. It was something far worse. On Earth, the final stand. Human soldiers were ready. On the surface, military bases sprang to life, and the Earth's cities sent out waves of resistance. The alien forces had no idea what they were walking into, but they learned quickly. Human soldiers, once thought weak, now moved with precision and strength. Their training had been brutal. They had been prepared for this moment. In the battlefields of Earth, the alien invaders found themselves trapped, overwhelmed by the sheer will and ferocity of humanity. They had underestimated Earth's soldiers, but now they realized their mistake. The hidden truth. As the battle raged on, High Commander Thalek of the Zarnok Empire received a signal from his flagship. It wasn't from his crew. It was from General Monroe. "Thalek." Monroe's voice was cold, but steady. "You've made a grave mistake. We warned you. And now you will face the consequences." Thalek's eyes widened. You did this." Monroe's voice cut through the static. "We didn't just defend our world, Thalek. We remembered it. And now you will feel the cost of your arrogance." The Zarnok commander screamed into the empty room, but it was too late. The tide turns. The alien fleets that had once loomed above Earth were now falling, one by one. Their technology was failing, their ground forces scattered and confused, and the human forces, driven by a deep, unshakable purpose, pushed forward. In the skies above Earth, the silent ships began to glow with a strange light. It wasn't fire. It wasn't weapons. It was unity. Humanity had spoken with silence, and now, with fire, they would make the galaxy remember who they were. A new dawn. Hours later, the battle ended. The skies cleared. Earth stood victorious. But the victory was not without cost. The galaxy would never be the same. The alien fleets had been humbled, their arrogance broken, and humanity had risen, not just to defend their world, but to remind the universe of the power that had been lying dormant for so long. General Monroe looked at the quiet stars on his screen. The message had been sent, loud and clear. Earth was no longer the weak, forgotten species. Humanity was strong. The galaxy would never forget. The galaxy had been shaken. The victory over the alien invaders was complete, but what came after the battle was just as important. Earth had sent a message, but now the real challenge began. The universe would never be the same again. The aftermath. Across the galaxy. In the wake of the battle, the alien fleets that had once threatened Earth were gone. The Zarnok, the Drayan, and the Filari were broken, their forces scattered. But their defeat wasn't just a military loss, it was a lesson. The Zarnok Empire had once ruled with an iron fist, but now their leaders trembled at the thought of facing humanity again. The Drayan Empire had been the galaxy's brightest power, but their arrogance had led to their downfall. The Filari, once considered the most cunning species, now feared the silence of Earth. All across the galaxy, the message was clear. Humanity was no longer a species to be ignored. The universe had underestimated Earth for far too long. And now, it was their turn to learn. A new era for humanity. On Earth, life was slowly returning to normal. The cities that had once been under attack were being rebuilt. The damage to the planet had been severe, but humanity's spirit had not been broken. General Monroe stood before a gathering of Earth's leaders, his voice calm but filled with resolve. "We've shown the galaxy our strength," he said, "but we've also shown them our mercy. Now we rebuild, not just our world, but the trust we've lost with the stars. Earth has earned its place in the galaxy, and we will make sure our legacy is one of peace." Behind him, the giant hologram of Earth shone brightly, showing how humanity had pushed forward despite everything. The scars of the war were visible, but so were the new spaceships being built, the new technology being developed, and the hope that spread across the planet. The return of the human ships. As the weeks passed, Earth's once hidden fleet became a symbol of humanity's power. The silent ships that had appeared during the invasion were now known across the galaxy as the Reckoning Fleet. Their mission was clear: to remind anyone who might think about attacking Earth that humanity was ready. But not just ready for war. Ready to defend peace. Captain Mira Chen stood before the fleet, her eyes scanning the stars. The Reckoning Fleet had been quiet for too long. Now it was time to open communication channels, to show the galaxy that humans were ready to move forward, not just with force, but with diplomacy. "We don't just fight, we build," Captain Chen said. "And now we rebuild the galaxy, starting with the peace we can offer to those willing to listen." A new Galactic Council. In the coming months, Earth's leaders worked tirelessly to establish a new Galactic Council. The old powers, the Zarnak, the Drayan, and the Filari, had been humbled. Now they sat with humans at the table, not as conquerors, but as equals. The council wasn't just a place for politics, it was a place for learning. General Monroe had a vision. He believed that the future of the galaxy depended on unity, on understanding. And despite the destruction and pain Earth had suffered, humanity had one gift to offer to the galaxy: the power to rise from the ashes, to adapt, and to build something better. At the first meeting of the new Galactic Council, Monroe stood before the leaders of the alien races, his voice firm. "We've shown you our strength," he said. "Now, let us show you our peace. Earth is not just here to survive. We are here to guide, to help you rebuild, and to bring new understanding to this galaxy. But know this, we will never again let anyone forget the strength of humanity." The alien leaders were quiet. They had seen what humans were capable of. And now, they knew. Earth wasn't a race to be ruled. Earth was a force to be reckoned with. The human legacy. As the months passed, the galaxy slowly began to heal. The once warring empires started to communicate more openly with Earth. The humans had earned their place in the stars, but the real work was just beginning. On Earth, the message had already spread. People from every nation, every culture, looked toward the stars with pride. The legacy of Earth wasn't just in the battles won or the ships launched. It was in the determination, the unity, and the strength of the people. Humanity had risen from the ashes of war, and now it was their time to lead. The galactic net was never quiet. Billions of ships, thousands of planets. Every second, someone was talking. Trade deals, patrol reports, music, jokes, warnings. But now, silence. No signal from Earth, no chatter from human colonies, no movement in their space lanes. They just went dark. Across the stars, alien leaders noticed. At first, they laughed. "It's a trick," some said. "Humans are dramatic." But then hours passed. Then a full day. And still, nothing. High Commander Thalik of the Drayan Alliance sat in his war room, staring at a blank screen. His claws tapped the console nervously. "What's Earth doing?" he asked. "Unknown, sir," his officer replied. "All human frequencies are silent. Their satellites are active, but not responding. Any movement from their fleets? Yes, but strange. Every human ship changed course, all heading inward, inward. Yes, sir, toward Sol system, toward Earth." Thalik frowned. "Why retreat? Unless..." He paused. His voice dropped. "Unless they're preparing for war." Elsewhere, Deep Space Listening Station Echo 19. Saria, a young communications tech, sat alone in the cold station. She was bored. No one ever attacked Echo 19. It was just a relay point, far from anything important. Suddenly, her screen blinked. A signal. Not sound. Not data. Gravity. Waves of gravity, like footsteps in deep space, were approaching her sector. She checked her readings. "That's not natural," she whispered. She tried to send a message to Central Command. Nothing. She tried again. Still no response. Then her lights flickered. Her station went cold. Something massive passed by, silent, invisible, but close enough to block her stars for a full minute. She stared out the window and saw nothing. Just black. But she felt it. Something was out there. Watching. Waiting. The Galactic Council. Emergency meeting. The Council had not met like this in over 100 years. Every major species sent a leader. Zarnok, Drayan, Filari, Urak. Dozens of them. All nervous, all talking at once. Except Earth's seat. It was empty. A glowing red no signal sign blinked above it. "We demand answers," shouted a Filari diplomat. "The humans have vanished. Their networks are off. Their fleets have turned inward. This is an act of war." General Vorn of the Zarnok Empire stood. "We may have caused this." The room went still. He explained what happened on the mining planet. The human who was killed. The neural beacon. The word they all heard through broken signals. "Awake." "They said that?" asked the Dryan ambassador. "Yes," Vorn replied. And then our communications went silent. Ships above the planet began to move. But not like soldiers. Like watchers. One Urak elder spoke softly. "Long ago, the humans warned us. We are peaceful, but we are not harmless." No one laughed. Aboard a human stealth ship, unknown location, Captain Mira Chen stood in front of a digital map. The galaxy was glowing with alien signals, except for one region. Human space. It was completely blacked out. "Report," she said. Her officer answered. "All colonies are in lockdown. Civilian systems offline. Military satellites on Ghost Protocol. AI systems activated." Mira nodded. "And Earth?" The officer hesitated. "Earth has initiated Black Veil." Mira closed her eyes. Then the vote passed. Another officer whispered, "We're really doing this." Mira looked at her crew. They killed a human. On neutral ground. In cold blood. She paused. "They don't know what that means, but they will." A small alien outpost. Edge of human territory. The outpost commander was reading reports when the power died. Every screen went black. Backup lights came on, red and flickering. His guards raised their weapons. Then, the front door, sealed for years, opened by itself. No wind, no sound. Just a single object placed at the entrance. A black cube. It opened. A message played, one that shook the commander to his core. "You watched it happen. You said nothing. This is your warning. Leave our borders, and pray we let you." The beginning of fear. Throughout the galaxy, alien empires started pulling their ships back. Some called it tactical retreat. But it wasn't strategy. It was fear. Fear of the silence. Fear of the quiet systems where humans once laughed, traded, and joked. Now, nothing. No music. No laughter. Just cold, perfect stillness. As if a giant eye had opened and was staring back at them, watching, remembering, preparing. And somewhere, deep in space, someone whispered the words again. "We are awake."